I'm Srinivas Yuvan, house surgeon from MBBS 2016 batch. I will be presenting a case of a 63-year-old lady hailing from Kochi. She is a homemaker who's a known case of diabetes for past 15 years on oral treatment, hypertension not on treatment, and bronchial asthma on inhalers occasionally. She presented with worsening of breathlessness, cough and palpitation for past 1 week. The breathlessness was acute in onset, initially on exertion, exacerbated by cold, dust, associated with a wheezing sound more in the morning hours, and relieved by rest and with inhalers. Initially it was at rest. It progressed to breathlessness on initially it was breathlessness with exercise, and later on it was progressed to breathlessness at rest. Now
so you can tell NYHA classification or MRC classification.
MMRC 1 to 4.
That you can tell which class now is. Like that you can tell.
Initially she was MMRC class 1. Now she is class 4. The cough was insidious in onset. It was progressive, moderate quantity, mucoid, not foul smelling or blood tinged, and it increased on exposure to dust. It is associated with running nose and with throat pain. The palpitation is intermittent. There is no history of chest pain, sweating, nausea, no history of fever, orthopnea, PND or lower limb swelling. Now, past history, she has repeated hospital admission 3 times in past 3 months. In June, she was admitted to outside hospital with paroxysmal atrial fibrillation with fast ventricular rate. 2 episodes happened, and she was managed with IV antiarrhythmic drugs. And 2 weeks back, she was admitted with breathlessness, altered sensorium, managed with IV antibiotics, and on investigation was found to have hyponatremia, hypokalemia. Potassium correction was done. Then she was again shifted to another hospital where she had another similar episode and given the same treatment. Her personal history, she is a case of constipation, reduced appetite, mixed diet, sleep is normal, no history of alcohol intake or smoking. She has history of dust allergy. Family history, no history of diabetes, hypertension, contact with TB. So on examination, she is moderately built and nourished.
Before examination, what will be your clinical diagnosis?
Sir, this seems to be an acute exacerbation of asthma.
Acute exacerbation of asthma. What is her age?
She is a 63-year-old lady.
So in between, she had any episodes of asthmatic attacks?
No, sir.
That's 60 years you take. In between, any attacks?
The proper history was not available, sir.
Okay. So what you will tell? You don't know whether patient is having history or asthma is there or not. History is not given. So what type of asthma it is? What it is called as?
It is
called as late onset
asthma.
Okay. Patient might have had a previous episode, we don't know. Then it is a normal asthma episode. But somebody developing asthma at this age group, which was not there in the previous years, then you can call it as late onset asthma. Mechanism is same, but it is not familiar.
Okay. So on examination, she was moderately built and nourished. Her BMI is 19 kg per meter square. She was in a propped up position at 45 degrees. She was restless, irritable, and
why you want to keep the patient in propped up position in any breathlessness? Any type of breathlessness, whether it is COPD, asthma, ILD, cardiac failure, why the patient should be in propped up position?
It reduces the work of breathing.
It will not, okay, but what is the mechanism? Once you understand the mechanism, every time you can do the same thing for all breathlessness. What is the mechanism?
By the effect of gravity, when a patient is kept supine, the filling of the lungs is impaired.
Why?
Because of reduced.
It is because when you are lying down, your posterior chest wall is on the bed. So that is the area which has got maximum lung area, because most of the like lower lobes are in the posterior part of the chest. Okay. If you see the surface marking, you'll understand. So if posterior part is not moving, then the expansion is very minimal. Whereas you are making the patient sit means both sides will move properly. So more air can go inside without any restriction. So that's why we keep all patients in propped up position irrespective of their cause for breathlessness, except one condition, they can have more breathlessness on sitting. What is that condition? It is called as orthodeoxia.
Orthodeoxia.
Where it is?
Orthodeoxia is seen in pulmonary
shunts. That is seen in hepatopulmonary syndrome. Otherwise, most of the patients respond to your propped up position. They feel better.
Yes.
Okay.
She was restless, irritable, unable to talk. Pallor was present, and grade 2 clubbing was present. No icterus, cyanosis, lymphadenopathy, edema. No markers of TB or HIV. Now, vitals, pulse 120 per minute, regular rhythm, normal character. Condition of vessel wall is normal. All pulses were felt equally bilaterally. There is no radioradial or radiofemoral delay. Respiratory rate is 20 per minute. It was regular, thoracoabdominal type, and use of accessory muscles present. Blood pressure.
What are the accessory muscles?
Accessory muscles are the scalene muscle.
Okay, the neck muscles, the most important. Then intercostal muscles, which is the muscle of diaphragm. Sorry, muscle of respiration. Diaphragm. Muscle of respiration is diaphragm. Accessory muscles are neck muscles and intercostals.
Blood pressure is 142/70 millimeters mercury, measured on right upper limb in the propped up position, standard adult cough. Temperature 98.6 degree Fahrenheit, measured in the axilla. Her saturation was 95% on room air. Now, in examination of respiratory system, the upper respiratory tract no DNS or sinus tenderness. Oral cavity was normal. Lower respiratory tract examination, on inspection, the chest was symmetrical and reduced respiratory movements were seen. Trachea was central in position. Apex beat was not seen. There is no drooping of the shoulders. Supraclavicular hollowing is present on both sides, and no kyphoscoliosis, sinuses, scars, dilated veins. Now, on palpation, inspectory findings were confirmed and reduced respiratory movements were found. Apex beat was not localized, and the transverse diameter was 25 centimeters, anteroposterior diameter was 17 centimeters. The ratio came out to be 1.47.
Okay.
Chest circumference was 17 expiration, inspiration 72. Then right and left hemithorax showed the same 35 and 36 on expiration and inspiration respectively. Expansion, right and left hemithorax showed expansion from 35 to 36.5. So that
Which are the conditions you get significant reduction in expansion? Books might have given so many conditions, but they are not seen in clinical practice. What is the typical condition where you get expansions are so restricted?
Pulmonary edema.
Pulmonary edema, expansion is not reduced. Expansion will be there because there is fluid inside. The breathing is happening.
ILD.
ILD is a condition where the expansion is reduced because of lung itself is fibrosed. There is one classical condition. Then next one is fibrothorax. The whole thorax, pleural cavity is fibrosed. Okay, pleural cavity fibrosis. Then scleroderma. Scleroderma is a classical condition where your expansion is totally reduced. Another condition is rib metastasis. Rib metastasis, the problem is patient is unable to breathe. That's why expansion is reduced. There is no problem in the lungs. Due to pain, they themselves restricts the expansion. So these are the classical condition. Scleroderma is a typical condition where the lungs are restricted from outside. Like you told, lung fibrosis, interstitial lung. This is the one condition which from inside they prevent the lung expansion.
Then vocal fremitus was symmetrically reduced. On percussion, resonant note all over the chest bilaterally. Liver dullness was felt in fifth right intercostal space in midclavicular line. On auscultation, reduced breath sounds bilaterally in all lung fields, reduced vocal resonance. We found V's with coarse crepitations at the bases. Other systems.
What are the conditions you get V's?
Sir, it is classically seen in bronchial asthma. It
is a typical finding seen in bronchial asthma. Okay, then
we can see it in
wherever there is edema which is compressing the bronchus, you get wheeze.
pulmonary.
You can get in pulmonary edema. You can get in some pneumonias, early pneumonias. You can get wheeze. Then,
ma'am, empyema.
Empyema will not produce wheeze. The classical conditions are one you told, like asthma is the most important. COPD is another condition you get wheeze. In that emphysema will produce more wheeze than bronchitis. Then early pneumonias you can get sometimes wheeze. Then pulmonary edema. These are the conditions where you get wheeze.
Then other systems, cardiovascular system, JVP was normal, S1, S2 was heard, no murmurs. On the abdomen was soft, no organomegaly, and CNS, no FN, no focal neurological deficit. Now coming to diagnosis, this is a case of bilateral bronchiectasis, bilateral acute exacerbation of bronchial asthma.
So acute exacerbation of bronchial asthma is possible diagnosis, one possible diagnosis. But we don't know the history of asthma, so you will not be able to tell bronchial asthma now. But we see, sir, you possibly diagnose some obstructive lung disease. Okay, then.
Sir, then on investigation.
So you told bronchiectasis. Why did you tell bronchiectasis? Clinically, telling bronchiectasis is very difficult. You need to have X-ray, you need to have CT to tell bronchiectasis. Once there is bronchiectasis, that crepitations we can make out it is due to bronchiectasis. Otherwise, this patient can be having pneumonia also. Crepitations can be due to pneumonia also. Bronchiectasis is one diagnosis, pneumonia is another diagnosis. So, ILD can be there. Okay.
Sir, on investigation.
So, this patient come to emergency room, what is the first thing you do? First, you told propped up position first.
Airway breathing.
Airway breathing circulation should be taken care. He is, what is his saturation when he came?
95.
So 95. So you may not give oxygen, but you have to see what is the respiratory rate. What is the rate?
The rate was 20.
20. It's normal. So you no need to supplement oxygen. Airway is normal. She is talking to you. So we no need to worry about airway breathing and BP.
BP 147.
147. So no need to worry about airway breathing and circulation. Then you can go to your investigation. What investigation you want to do?
Sir, we can take a chest X-ray.
So most important investigation is chest X-ray. So you had taken a chest X-ray.
And the chest X-ray showed hyperinflation.
Okay. Hyperinflation is a finding seen in, hyperinflation means more black in color in the lung fields, like peripheral. So outside the lung fields you can see black in color. That is because of air. Inside also you see some black in color. It will be slightly greyish black. When there is air trapping inside, like acute asthma, COPD, it will be more black in color.
Then increased bronchovascular markings.
Okay, that means what? Increased a lot of blood vessels are seen in the lungs. That means what?
That means congestion.
That means inflammation and congestion. Okay.
Then coming to blood investigation, sir, we did increased total count was seen.
Okay.
18,000.
Okay.
And CRP was.
That means what? Increased blood counts. WBC count is increased. What do you think?
Sir, it is because of the immune response.
That is because of some infection, mostly bacterial infection. So you have two type of patient. One patient is not having any lung disease. If the lung infection is there, counts are elevated. What is the type of bacteria?
Sir,
it is due to gram-positive.
Gram-positive.
Suppose the patient is having, like you told, bronchiectasis, and he is getting infection now. What is the type of infection? Anaerobic or gram-negative. So that you should be very clear. So whenever somebody come with a community-acquired infection in a normal lung, it has to be gram-positive. Whenever somebody is admitted with a damaged lung with infection, there is high possibility of gram-negative with anaerobes.
So and CRP was 100.
100. That is high.
Then the patient was started on bronchodilators.
What bronchodilator you give?
Salbutamol.
Salbutamol. So how do you give salbutamol?
Sir, 2.5 to 5 milligram every 6th hour.
So you are giving 2.5 milligram diluted in another 1 ml or 2 ml saline and give nebulization. Suppose the patient tells, I am not relieved, he is not improved, what you do?
To every 20 minutes we
you can give again, 1 or 2 times again you can give, but you should know the side effects of, adverse effects of salbutamol. What are the adverse effects?
Sir, tremors.
Tremors can be there.
tremors,
Then
dizziness,
can be there. Then
hypokalemia,
hypokalemia can be there. Then
palpitations
and arrhythmias. So you should be very careful because this patient already had one or two episodes of atrial fibrillation. So this patient can again have tachycardia and atrial fibrillation. So you should be very careful, monitor this patient, but you can give salbutamol and watch. Normally this dose may not produce atrial fibrillation, you can safely give. However, you have to monitor. Okay, you have given salbutamol.
Then sir, then we gave methylprednisolone.
Okay, what is the indication of methylprednisolone in respiratory infections?
Sir, it is to here because for the inflammation.
So to reduce the inflammation in asthmatic episodes, you have to give methylprednisolone. But do you think that this is only an inflammation or something else is there?
Sir, here there is a respiratory compromise.
Here there is infection. Infection with inflammation. Whereas in pure asthma, it is only inflammation without infection. Okay. Here there is inflammation with infection. So you have to cover with antibiotic, then you can give steroids. Otherwise, if you are giving only steroids, the infection can be aggravated.
We had given IV ceftriaxone.
Why you selected ceftriaxone? Now you have a patient whom you diagnosed to have asthma, but his counts are elevated. He has got bilateral crepitations. X-ray shows bronchiectasis. You think that it is a gram-negative infection in the lungs. Why did you give ceftriaxone? What are the antibiotics of choice in damaged lung with infection?
Sir, it is because of the coverage it gives for gram-negative.
Okay, ceftriaxone covers gram-negative, so it is a good choice when you have a gram-negative suspected infection. But in COPD or whatever lung disease, when you have an infection in the lungs, in a damaged lung, it can be predominantly gram-negative, but you have to cover for gram-positive also. So when you are treating like this, you have to give ceftriaxone is one choice. You have to add one more drug. What is the drug?
For anaerobes, sir.
Anaerobes, it is for gram-positive.
Gram-positive.
That will cover anaerobes also.
Azithromycin.
Or augmentin or amoxicillin or crystalline penicillin. Anything is possible. Or you straight away go for a broad spectrum antibiotic like
broad spectrum we can give we can give a higher
it is not higher, it is quinolones quinolone like levofloxacin, moxifloxacin, they cover gram negative and gram positive in lungs. Okay, so that can be given, or like you told, ceftriaxone can be given with amoxicillin, clavulanic acid or crystalline penicillin or azithromycin. Anything is possible. But in a damaged lung, what are the organisms which you have to worry?
Pseudomonas.
Pseudomonas should be worried because somebody is having a chronic inflammation in the lungs like bronchiectasis. Repeated infections in that area can be Pseudomonas. Will ceftriaxone cover Pseudomonas?
No, sir.
It will not cover.
We have to give ciprofloxacin.
Ciprofloxacin will cover.
750 milligrams.
Ciprofloxacin or levofloxacin. Ciprofloxacin is not a good drug for lungs. You can give levofloxacin, moxifloxacin. But if you are really thinking about Pseudomonas, they are not the drug of choice. What is the drug of choice?
Sir,
you have to go for higher drugs like you told, piperacillin, tazobactam will be an ideal choice. But since we don't have evidence, you have started ceftriaxone. But you want to find out what is the reason. How do you find out? What are things you can further proceed to know what type of infection it is?
Sir, we can do the sputum culture.
You have to take a sputum culture. What are things you send in sputum culture?
We send the sputum
for gram stain. Okay, in that you will get whether it is gram positive or gram negative. Next you ask for a sputum culture. Third one you ask for a sputum fungal smear. Fourth one you will ask for a sputum for AFP. These 4 investigations you have to ask when you are taking a sputum like this. Okay, simply asking for bacterial culture is not enough. Okay, so this test you should do. You have started ceftriaxone. What was the progress in this patient?
Sir, later on the patient became tachypneic.
Okay, so once the patient become tachypneic, in this type of individuals, somebody is having bullae or bronchiectasis, who is having wheeze, he become tachypneic. Again, you want to take an X-ray?
Sir, actually, we had to do a higher investigation.
Yeah, higher investigation is okay. You ask for a CT scan. Emergency room, when the patient become more tachypneic after your initial treatment, you have taken one X-ray, suddenly patient will become more tachypnic. Do you want to take another X-ray?
Yes, yes, sir. Because of the suppose any rupture of bullae.
Okay, so that you have to rule out pneumothorax. So to rule out pneumothorax, you can ask for another X-ray. Otherwise, better go for CT. Okay, what CT finding you got?
Sir, in this patient we found bronchiectatic changes.
Which all areas?
In all bilateral.
Throughout the lung fields.
Bilateral
throughout the lung fields, you are getting bronchiectasis.
Central lobular nodules are seen.
Okay.
Tree in bud appearance.
Tree in bud appearance. So what do you suspect? Tree in bud appearance, central lobular bronchiectasis throughout the lung fields. Patient is now come with breathlessness, cough, sputum production. What all possibilities? She is a diabetic?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What all possibilities?
Sir,
if it is a young child, you should think about congenital disease which can
Yes.
produce bronchitis. He has become 60 years. So what do you think?
Sir, it could be some acquired causes of bronchiectasis.
Like what?
Post pneumonia.
What type of throughout the lung field? What pneumonia can produce this type of changes? It is staphylococcal. Staphylococcal infection in the lung can produce pneumonias and pneumonias throughout the lung and like this bronchitis throughout the lung. But that patient will be very, very sick.
Very
MRSA or MSSA in the lung is very sick. What else? Patient is not that sick, but she is breathless and bilateral diffuse bronchiectasis. What are the possibilities?
Sir, tuberculosis.
TB is one most important possibility. TB and fungal infection, aspergillosis. Okay, TB and fungal infection in the lungs are most important possibilities. Otherwise, some lung disease like ILD is progressing in this stage. It can happen. Most important infections are TB and
fungal infection.
So, how do you proceed?
Sir, if it is TB, we will evaluate.
TB means you have to send 3 sputum samples. One of 2 samples. If it is positive, you have to diagnose it. Then how do you manage?
Sir, TB we will start on antituberculous.
What are the drugs you normally start?
Isoniazid.
INH.
Then
INH, rifampicin
and ethambutol and pyrazinamide.
You should know the dose. What is the dose?
15 milligrams.
INH is?
INH is 15 milligrams.
INH is 5 milligrams.
5
Rifampicin is 10 milligrams. Ethambutol is 15 milligrams. Pyrazinamide 25. So you should remember 5, 10, 15, 25. Whatever may be your specialty in future, whether you are cardiologist, neurologist, gynecologist, you may have to start TB drugs. So remember 5, 10, 15, 25. 5 is INH, 10 is rifampicin, 15 is ethambutol
and
25 is pyrazinamide. So 5 milligram per kg body weight. So all these drugs you start for how many days? Continue for?
Sir, 4 months.
For 2 months. Normally 4 drug regime for 2 months. 2 drug regime for
6 months.
4 months. Total duration is 6 months.
6 months.
Okay. What is DOTS?
DOTS is directly observed.
Okay. So in that the one physician attendant will he'll observe the therapy. He'll give this one. Okay. So that has to in that DOTS rifampicin has to be there. Why rifampicin is there in all short course regimes?
Sir, because of its sidal and sidal, static and sidal both actions.
So if you treat TB, there are 2 types of TBs: slow growers and rapid growers, and intracellular, extracellular. So all these groups are there. No, rifampicin act against all these groups. And that most important is slow growers. Okay, whatever other drug you give, they don't act against these slow growers. Rifampicin act against that. Suppose rifampicin is not there in your regime due to some reason, it's adverse effects. You are removing rifampicin. What happens then? Your duration.
Then we have to increase the duration
to
18 months.
18 months. That is because slow growers will be only treated with rifampicin. If you are removing rifampicin, then the slow growers slowly grow, and after 6 months it will come up. Then the patient will not be improved. So when you are giving rifampicin, 6-month regime is enough. When you are not giving rifampicin, to count that slow growers, you have to give for 18 months. So TB is like that. Suppose it is fungal infection, how do you manage?
Sir, because this is the most common organism will be aspergillus.
Okay.
So we will give voriconazole.
Okay, you can give voriconazole, but if the patient is sick, patient is going for sepsis, invasive candidiasis like fungal infections, amphotericin B will be a better choice. That is especially in a post-COVID stage. We don't know whether patient has patient had any COVID infection. On top of that, patient is developing fungal infection. Amphotericin B will be a better choice to cover all these things. But there are better drugs than amphotericin B without much side effects. That also, like posaconazole, voriconazole, like you told. But they are very costly. Even amphotericin also very costly now. But you have to go for a higher drug like. Okay. Then anything else? Suppose you are discharging this patient. Anything else?
Sir, if on discharging this patient, we have to prescribe bronchodilators.
Bronchodilator. How do you give bronchodilators for this patient?
We can give, we prefer salmeterol.
Salmeterol. When you are giving salmeterol, only limitation is it is not a emergency drug. It require another emergency drug like salbutamol. But formoterol is one drug which can be used both in emergency and prevention. So that will be an ideal choice for all these breathlessness patient, because they whenever they get a attack, they can take formoterol. Salbutamol, if you are giving, it will not prevent the attack. It can be used only acute phase. Salmeterol can be used to prevent the attacks. It is not useful in acute attack. Formoterol has got all the actions. So that will be an ideal choice. Okay, you want to give vaccination for this type of patients?
Yes, sir.
What are vaccinations?
H1N1.
H1N1 and
pneumococcal.
Both vaccines should be given. So that should be given for all patients. Okay. Thank you.